I was loading the last box into my old Ford pickup when I heard footsteps behind me. My granddaughter Madison stood there, arms crossed, that familiar look of disgust on her face, the same look she'd been giving me for the past 6 months. "Finally," she said, checking her phone. "The moving truck I hired will be here in an hour to start the real renovation. Dylan and I already picked out the marble for the master bath. Italian. $12,000. I just nodded, placed the box carefully in the truck bed. My hands didn't shake. They should have, but they didn't. "You know, Grandpa," Madison continued, walking around my truck like she was inspecting a piece of junk, "I'm actually doing you a favor. This house is too much for an old man. You'll be happier in that assisted living place. They have bingo on Thursdays. I'm 68. I run 5 miles every morning. The realtor said we should list it at $4.2 million after the renovation," she said, scrolling through her phone. "But Dylan thinks we can get 4.5 if we redo the kitchen. Marble there too. What do you think?" What did I think? I thought about the day I bought this house 32 years ago. Cash. I thought about carrying Madison's mother through that front door when she was just a baby. I thought about the night my wife died in the bedroom upstairs, holding my hand, telling me to be strong. "I think," I said slowly, "that you should check who actually owns this house." Madison laughed. The kind of laugh you give a child who says something adorably stupid. "Grandpa, Mom signed it over to me 3 years ago when she moved to Florida. Remember? You were there. Well, you were supposed to be there. You probably forgot." She tapped her temple. Senior moment. I hadn't forgotten anything. Her mother, Sarah, had signed over her own condo in Miami. Not this house. This house had always been in my name. I'd let Madison believe whatever she wanted to believe. "Right," I said. "Must have slipped my mind." "Exactly. Anyway, the movers will need the garage code. Dylan wants to park his Tesla in there tonight. He says it's bad for the paint to leave it outside." She held out her hand expectantly. I gave her the code. "Why not? After tomorrow, it wouldn't matter." "Oh, and Grandpa?" Madison called out as I climbed into my truck. "Make sure you take all your stuff. We're donating whatever's left. Dylan says clutter blocks the home's energy flow." I pulled out of the driveway. In my rearview mirror, I could see Madison on her phone, probably calling Dylan, probably planning which furniture to buy with money she thought she had. 3 months earlier, Madison had asked me to move out. Not asked, told. "Dylan and I need our space," she'd said over brunch at some overpriced cafe in downtown Portland. "We're starting our lives together. This house is perfect for us. Your grandmother and I raised your mother in that house," I'd said quietly. "Exactly. It's old. It needs young energy, new memories." She'd reached across the table, grabbed my hand in that way people do when they're about to say something terrible. "You understand, right? You're getting older. You shouldn't be alone in that big house. What if you fall? What if something happens? I'm 68, not 98. Still, we already looked at some really nice assisted living communities. They have activities, people your own age." Her fiancé, Dylan, had sat there, silent, scrolling through his phone. He was 31, investment banker, drove a Tesla, wore watches that cost more than most people's cars. Everything about him was expensive and empty. "How much?" I'd asked. Madison had blinked. "What? How much does this assisted living place cost?" "Well, the one we liked is about $8,000 a month, but..." "And you expect me to pay that?" "Grandpa, you worked for the city for 40 years. You must have a decent pension. And Social Security." I did have a pension, small one. And Social Security, together, about $3,000 a month. "The house," Madison had said slowly, like explaining to a child, "is in my name. Mom gave it to me. So Dylan and I were thinking we'd sell it, invest the money, and that would more than cover the difference. It's a win-win." I'd taken a sip of my coffee. It was cold. "When do you want me out?" Madison's face had lit up. "Really? Oh, Grandpa, I knew you'd understand. How about 6 months? That gives you time to pack and everything." 6 months had passed. Today was moving day, but yesterday had been interesting too. Yesterday morning, I'd met with Richard Chen, my realtor for the past 20 years. We'd sat in his office downtown, looking at the paperwork. "You're sure about this, Thomas?" Richard had asked. "This is your home." "I'm sure. The market's hot right now. Houses in Laurelhurst are going for insane prices. But a cash sale in 48 hours? We'll have to price it below market." "How much below?" "Maybe 10, 15%. I can get you 3.6 million, guaranteed close by tomorrow afternoon. Cash buyer, no contingencies." The house was worth 4 million. Easy. Maybe more after a renovation. But I didn't need top dollar. I needed speed. "Do it," I'd said. Richard had studied me for a long moment. "Does Madison know?" "Madison thinks she owns this house. But she doesn't." "No. Sarah signed over her condo in Miami 3 years ago. Never touched this house." Madison assumed. And I never corrected her. "Thomas, this is going to. I know exactly what it's going to do." The papers had been signed by 5 p.m. yesterday. The money had hit my account by 9 this morning. $3.6 million, minus Richard's commission, minus some fees. About 3.4 million, all told. I'd taken a loss of 600,000 to move fast, worth every penny. Now I was driving across town to a hotel. Nothing fancy, just somewhere to sleep while I figured out my next move. My phone rang as I pulled onto the highway. "Mr. Ashford? This is Jessica Chen. We spoke last week about the property on Belmont Street." "Yes. The sellers accepted your offer. All cash, close in 10 days. Congratulations on your new building. I'd almost forgotten about that. Last week, I'd made an offer on a mixed-use property in southeast Portland, the building where Madison's boutique was located. She'd opened it 2 years ago with money I'd loaned her, $50,000 she'd never paid back. The boutique took up the ground floor, 2 apartments above it. The previous owner wanted $800,000. I'd offered $750, all cash. He'd accepted. Madison paid $4,000 a month rent for her boutique space. Had no idea I was about to become her landlord. Had no idea about a lot of things. My phone rang again. "Madison, Grandpa." Her voice was different, tight. "Where are you?" "Heading to a hotel. You need to come back. Now." "Why's that?" "Because there's a woman here. A lawyer. She's saying some crazy things about the house." I pulled over into a gas station parking lot. "What kind of crazy things?" "She says you sold it. Yesterday. She says we have to leave. Like now. She's got the police with her." I could hear Dylan's voice in the background, loud and angry. "That's impossible," Madison was saying. "You can't sell my house. It's mine. My mother gave it to me." "Your mother gave you her condo in Miami," I said calmly. "I still have the paperwork if you want to see it. This house was always mine." Silence. Long enough that I thought the call had dropped. "You're lying." Her voice had gone quiet. "Dangerous. You're a senile old man and you're lying. Check the deed, Madison. It's public record. My name has been on that deed since 1993. Only mine. But Mom said she promised. Your mother never promised you this house. You assumed. And I let you assume because I wanted to see what kind of person you'd become. You can't do this. I already did. The new owners take possession tomorrow morning. You have until then to remove your belongings. After that, it's trespassing." "Grandpa, wait." I hung up. My phone immediately rang again. I turned it off. The hotel room was quiet. I ordered room service, ate a decent steak, watched the news. Around 9 p.m., I turned my phone back on. 47 missed calls, 32 voicemails. I didn't listen to any of them. One text from Sarah, Madison's mother, my daughter. "Dad, what the hell did you do?" I texted back. "Ask your daughter what she did." The response came fast. "She's crying. Dylan's furious. They have nowhere to go. They have her boutique. She can sleep there." "You're being cruel." "I'm being clear. There's a difference." I slept well that night. Best sleep I'd had in months. Morning came with more phone calls. I let them all go to voicemail. Finally answered one from Sarah around noon. "Dad." She sounded exhausted. "Can we talk? Really talk?" "I'm listening." "Madison told me everything. About asking you to move out. About the assisted living place. She trailed off. "I didn't know she was doing this. I swear I didn't know. You gave her the idea she owned the house. No. I told her I'd signed over my condo. She must have thought. God, she must have confused the two properties. Sarah sighed. But Dad, selling the house? Without even telling her? She gave me 6 months' notice to get out of my own home. I returned the favor. She's your granddaughter. And you're my daughter. When's the last time you visited? When's the last time you called just to talk? Silence. You moved to Florida 8 years ago, I continued. You visit maybe once a year. Christmas, if I'm lucky. Madison lived 20 minutes away, and I saw her maybe 6 times in the past 2 years. Always because she needed something. Money for the boutique, money for her wedding, money for a down payment on a car. We've been busy. Busy. Right. Too busy to visit, but not too busy to plan what to do with my house when I'm gone. That's not fair. Fair? Let me tell you about fair, Sarah. When your mother got sick, I spent 3 years taking care of her. Quit my job early, lost income, lost my pension bump, spent our savings on treatments insurance wouldn't cover. When she died, I had about $200,000 left. You know what Madison said at the funeral? Dad, she said, at least Grandma doesn't have to suffer anymore. And hey, now you can finally enjoy your retirement. Like your mother's death was a retirement bonus. I heard Sarah crying. I loved Madison, I said quietly. I really did. But she turned into someone I don't recognize. Someone who sees people as assets, as stepping stones. And you let it happen. What do you want from us? Nothing. I don't want anything from you anymore. I hung up. The next call was from Dylan. I almost didn't answer. Mr. Ashford, we need to talk. His voice was smooth, professional, the voice of someone used to getting his way. No, we don't. I'm prepared to make you an offer. For the house, I can beat whatever you sold it for. 10% over asking. All cash. It's already sold. Everything's negotiable. Name your price. It's not about price, Dylan. Then what is it about? Punishing Madison because she hurt your feelings? I laughed. Couldn't help it. Dylan, do you know what I did for 40 years? You worked for the city. Some kind of office job. I was a city planner. I designed the zoning maps for 3 Portland neighborhoods. I reviewed development projects. I sat on boards. I made decisions about where things could be built, what could be built, who got permits. Okay? Do you know what city planners get paid? Not much, I'm guessing. You're right, not much. I made maybe $60,000 a year at my peak. With overtime, maybe 70. But do you know what city planners see? He didn't answer. We see opportunity. We see which neighborhoods are about to boom, which properties are about to skyrocket in value, which areas the city is planning to invest in. What are you saying? I'm saying I bought property. Lots of it. Starting in the early 90s, when Portland was cheap and nobody wanted to live here, I bought buildings. Empty lots, old houses in bad neighborhoods. That's impossible. On a city salary, I lived cheap, saved every penny. Your fiancée thinks I'm poor because I drive an old truck and shop at Costco. She has no idea I own 18 properties across Portland. Residential, commercial, mixed use. Total value, about $43 million. The line went quiet. The house in Laurelhurst was just one property. Not even the most valuable. I sold it to teach Madison a lesson. But here's the thing, Dylan. Here's the part you need to understand. What? I also own the building where Madison's boutique is located. I bought it last week. And I'm terminating her lease effective next month. You can't. I can. Check her lease. There's a clause that allows termination with 30 days notice if the property changes ownership. Most tenants don't read the fine print. This is insane. You're destroying her business over a family argument? I'm teaching her that actions have consequences. She wanted me in assisted living, paying $8,000 a month I don't have, while she lived in my house. Now she'll learn what it's like to actually struggle. She's your granddaughter. Then she should have acted like it. I hung up. The next few days were quiet. I stayed in the hotel, made some calls, handled some paperwork. The new owners of the Laurelhurst house took possession. I heard from Richard that Madison and Dylan had removed their belongings, but not without drama. Lots of crying, lots of threats. On day 4, Sarah showed up at my hotel. The front desk called up. "There's a Sarah Ashford here to see you." I almost said no, but curiosity won. She looked older than the last time I'd seen her. Tired. She sat down in the chair across from my bed, hands folded in her lap. "Madison's devastated," she said. "I'm sure she is. Her business is closing. She can't find another retail space in time. She's losing everything she built. She built it with my money. $50,000 I loaned her 2 years ago. Never saw a penny back." "You never asked for it back." "I shouldn't have to ask. It was a loan, not a gift." Sarah looked out the window. "When did you get so hard? When did you get so blind?" We sat in silence. "What happens now?" she asked finally. "Now? Now you and Madison figure out your own lives. I'm done being the bank, done being the safety net, done being taken for granted. And us, your family? You stopped being my family when you stopped acting like it." Sarah stood up. "You'll regret this. When you're really old, really alone, you'll wish you'd been kinder. Maybe. But at least I'll be alone by choice, not by circumstance." She left. I stayed in Portland another week, mostly to tie up loose ends. Met with my financial advisor, updated my will, made some decisions about the future. The 18 properties I owned generated about $90,000 a month in rental income. After expenses and property management fees, I cleared about $60,000 a month, $720,000 a year. Passive income. I'd been living on my pension and Social Security, saving every penny of the rental income, reinvesting it. For what? For who? I'd thought it would go to Sarah, then to Madison. A legacy. But legacy means nothing if the people receiving it don't value it, don't value you. So I made a new plan. First, I donated $1 million to the hospice center where my wife had spent her final days. They'd been kind to her, kind to me. They'd earned it. Second, I set up a scholarship fund at Portland State University. $250,000 a year, renewable, for students studying city planning. Kids who wanted to make their city better, who saw possibility where others saw problems. Third, I bought a small house in Bend, Oregon. 3 bedrooms, mountain views, close to hiking trails. Paid cash. $700,000. The rest? I'd figure it out. Maybe travel. Maybe just enjoy being alive without having to worry about what anyone thought. On my last day in Portland, I drove past the Laurelhurst house. There was a young family moving in, kids playing in the yard, a dog. The father was carrying boxes, laughing at something the mother said. It looked happy. I drove to Madison's boutique next. There was a store closing sign in the window. Everything 50% off. I almost went in. Almost. But I didn't. Some bridges, once burned, shouldn't be rebuilt. I drove to Bend. The house was perfect, quiet, peaceful. The neighbors were friendly but not intrusive. I started hiking every morning, longer trails than I'd done in Portland. I was 68 years old, in perfect health, and for the first time in years, actually happy. 3 months later, I got a letter. Madison. It was handwritten. 4 pages. She apologized, said she'd been selfish, said she'd been entitled, said Dylan had left her when the money ran out, said she was working 2 jobs now, living in a studio apartment, learning what it meant to actually earn something. She said she understood why I'd done it, said she didn't forgive me yet, but she understood. She said she hoped, someday, we could talk. I read the letter 3 times, thought about calling her. Didn't. Not yet. Maybe someday. When I knew the apology was real. When enough time had passed that she'd really learned the lesson. Or maybe never. I was learning to be okay with that too. 6 months after that, my financial advisor called with interesting news. Thomas, you remember that property on Belmont? Madison's old boutique? Yes. A tech company wants to lease the entire building. Ground floor for retail, upper floors for offices. They're offering $12,000 a month. 3-year lease. Take it. Already did. Thought you'd say yes. The building I'd bought for $750 was now generating $144,000 a year in rent. It would pay for itself in about 5 years. then be pure profit. Madison would have thrown that away because she couldn't see past her own wants. That night, I sat on my back porch, watching the sunset over the mountains. I thought about my wife, about the life we'd built, about the daughter we'd raised. We'd tried our best. It hadn't been enough, but maybe that was okay. Maybe some people need to hit bottom before they can learn to climb. Maybe some lessons can only be learned the hard way. I thought about calling Madison, telling her about the new tenant in her old building, telling her that her failed boutique had become something successful for someone else. But that felt cruel. So instead, I just watched the sunset and felt grateful for the quiet. A year passed, then another. I turned 70, started teaching a class at the local community college. Urban planning and community development. The students were eager, curious, passionate. One of them reminded me of myself at that age. A kid named Marcus, 23, wanted to make cities better, saw housing as a right, not a commodity. I started mentoring him, told him about the scholarship fund. He applied, got it. 2 years of school, fully funded. He cried when I told him. "Why me?" he asked. "Because you remind me that there are still good people in the world. People who care about something bigger than themselves." Sarah called sometimes. Awkward conversations that went nowhere. She'd ask about my health. I'd say I was fine. She'd mention Madison. I'd change the subject. Madison never called. 3 years after I sold the house, I got another letter. This time, just 2 lines. "I'm getting married. Small ceremony. Courthouse. I'd like you to be there. I understand if you can't. No address, no phone number, no details. Just an invitation to be part of her life again." I thought about it for a week. Finally called Sarah. "Give me Madison's number." The phone rang 4 times before she picked up. "Grandpa, I got your letter." "Oh," she sounded nervous, scared even. "I wasn't sure you'd respond. Tell me about him. This man you're marrying." "His name is Alex. He's a teacher. Elementary school. We met at a grief support group after Dylan and I split." "Grief support group?" I needed help, processing everything. What I'd done. Who I'd become. Her voice cracked. "I was really lost, Grandpa." We talked for 2 hours. She told me about the past 3 years, about hitting rock bottom, about realizing that everything she'd thought mattered didn't, about learning to live on a budget, about finding someone who loved her for who she was, not what she had, about growing up. "I don't expect you to forgive me," she said at the end. "I don't even know if I forgive myself yet, but I wanted you to know that I heard you, finally heard you." "I'll come to the wedding," I said. She cried. "Really? Really?" The wedding was small, just 15 people. Madison wore a simple dress. Alex seemed genuine, nervous, but genuine. During the reception, Madison pulled me aside. "I looked you up," she said quietly. "Oh, the scholarship fund, the hospice donation, the properties." She looked at me with something like awe. "You could have told me. Would it have mattered?" She thought about it. "Probably not. Not back then." "And now?" "Now I realize you weren't poor. You were just deliberate, intentional. Everything had a purpose." "Everything does have a purpose, Madison, including what I did to you." She nodded. "I know, and I'm grateful. I really am. It was the worst thing that ever happened to me, and the best." We stood there, watching the other guests dance. "The house," she said. "Do you ever miss it?" "Sometimes, but I don't miss who I was becoming when I lived there. Don't miss being taken for granted. I'm sorry." "I know you are. Can we start over? Not forget what happened, but move forward?" I looked at my granddaughter, really looked at her. She was different. Older, yes, but also softer, more aware, more real. "We can try," I said. That was 4 years ago. Now I'm 74. Still hiking, still teaching, still managing my properties, though I've hired a better management company to handle the day-to-day. Madison and Alex have a daughter, Emma, 3 years old. They live modestly. Alex teaches. Madison works as a bookkeeper for a nonprofit. They're happy. Sarah and I talk once a week now. Real conversations. About life, about regrets, about second chances. My real estate portfolio is worth about 67 million now. Portland's market went crazy. The properties I bought in the 90s are worth 20, 30 times what I paid. I've updated my will. A third goes to Sarah. A third to Madison, in a trust she can't access until she's 50. And a third to scholarships, charities, and Marcus, my former student who now works for the city planning department. People ask me if I regret what I did, if I wish I'd handled things differently. The answer is no. Sometimes love means letting people fall, means stepping back and watching them fail. Because failure, real failure, is the only teacher some people will ever listen to. Madison needed to lose everything to find herself, and I needed to let her go to find my peace. That's the thing about family. It's not about money or houses or inheritance. It's about respect, about seeing each other as whole people, not as means to an end. For 65 years, I'd been someone's son, then someone's husband, then someone's father, then someone's grandfather. I defined myself by my relationships to others. But at 68, standing in that hotel room, phone turned off, I'd finally become just Thomas. And Thomas was doing just fine.